What's up, y'all? I know this isn't a way to start a video, but this is how we're gonna do it. I don't recommend you to do this. We got a hacksaw with a metal blade, and we're gonna be replacing all of the AC components. And I tried to unscrew these things and they don't really seem to come off, so I just went and bought all new AC lines. As you can see, it's pretty messy here, but this thing makes quick work pretty easy. I'm gonna replace the whole J block here also. We'll show you that later, but let's see if this will cut it. Oh, easy enough. Look how nasty this is on the inside. Yeah, but yeah, that's a start. We're here in Morris, Illinois. I'm probably gonna get screwed over and get our delivery rescheduled a whole day extra because broker was too honest. But yeah, let's keep on going. Okay, so my GoPro died, but I figured I'd show you guys, which is probably why, if you have bad cooling, which is probably why this is the reason, because your evaporator is probably very, very dirty and clogged up. This is probably the original evaporator in this truck, which is 21 years old. But I mean, I'm gonna pull this thing out. So my evaporator is right here and your heater core is right here. But as you can see, this will show you why it's not cooling. Essentially what happens is you have a blower right here that blows onto your evaporator, and then when this cools, that cold air is going into your AC system, and this is your heater core, which is also messy, but my heating works pretty good, so I'm not gonna really mess with that. But I mean, look at this. It's like no wonder that AC is barely cooling. This thing is a mess. I mean, in reality, you could just try cleaning this, but this new evaporator was like $170, $80. So I think it's worth just upgrading. And then in here, you can't see it right now, but there's a drain hole right there. And what happens in a lot of these classics is the drain hole in the bottom for condensation gets clogged up, and then it starts dripping right out here. So a lot of people have those issues. But yeah, essentially you want to clean that drain hole once in a while at least. But yeah, we have this removed. We're gonna clean this up, put a new evaporator, and then keep on going forward. But yeah, as I mentioned, we're gonna replace all of the AC lines in the truck, the whole line set without the sleeper, because I'm actually gonna be deleting the sleeper. It was like $620. So not the cheapest, but I think it will be worth it. But yeah, let's keep on going, I guess. All right, yeah, it's pretty crowded in here. Quite a bit of things. New addition, we got this air fryer with dual pans. You can cook French fries and steak / salmon, whatever you wish. Thing is pretty great. We tested it out yesterday. If you want to cook on the road, this is your solution to your problems. Get you an air fryer. This puppy cooks some good food. Ain't that right? Yeah. And you do need a pretty hefty inverter, which I do have a 3000 watt inverter for this, because this does hog like 1800 watts, and it will drain my batteries while it's running. So I do have to pump up my RPMs to like 10,000, so my alternator is charging them higher when this is working, because I only have 3 batteries. Why'd you just switch seats?
Because we're gonna go over there.
Oh, but yeah, this is our situation, what we're working on here. We are here at Costco warehouse where we were. We were supposed to have a delivery at 11:30, and they pushed it for tomorrow 11:30. Today is Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, which is stupid, because we could have just stayed home if we knew that was the case. But it is what it is. We're in Morris, Illinois, and we're gonna work on this AC. As you can see, we took out that evaporator and vacuumed this up, and then we're gonna take out these hoses, which is, there's a J block there, and essentially on this truck, the J block connects the hoses from the compressor and air dryer, and then there's a connection on the side for the sleeper, which I'm gonna be deleting because I don't want to have the sleeper, because I believe I have a leak somewhere in the back, and I don't want to spend extra money and replace all of the sleeper evaporators, sleeper gaskets, hoses, whatever not. So I'm just gonna cut it off because this thing in the back barely works anyways. And on top of that, classics tend to have electrical issues with overheating panel, and it's just a whole mess, and I don't feel like dealing with it because I feel like, you know, and it's also going to be easier to cool off with a shorter circulation. But anyways, let's show you what we're replacing with as far as AC goes. Under the bed I have all of the hoses. Like I mentioned, they were like $630 for front firewall to the engine, and then those two there. And then here are some other things. This here is going to be your air dryer, which surprisingly was cheap, only $25. This here is your J block for your day cab, which goes right there on the bottom, just like so. And then the lines from this go to the evaporator. And then my current J block has a bigger J block on this other side, and there's a sleeper connected to it, which I'm deleting it, so I'm running with it this way as it is. But yeah, that's as far as that goes. These are the seals. I believe all of the hoses do come with seals pre-installed, but in case they don't, here are some seals. This is cheap anyways. This is your expansion valve, which sits right by your evaporator. I also have a low pressure sensor for the evaporator. I recently replaced the high pressure, or vice versa, I'm not exactly sure. And then here is your new evaporator. These are just the bulbs. This is your new evaporator. Pretty easy, self-explanatory how it works. Right here, we're just gonna connect the expansion valve to this, and then you connect your hoses, go to J block, and go on to air dryer, condenser. Also, I have a condenser in the bigger box under the trailer to replace that also. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're basically doing the whole AC system. The only thing not getting replaced is the AC compressor, because I believe that's fine. It was replaced like a year and a half ago or so. Other than that, the whole system is getting replaced. This was about $180, so hoses $630, $800 with this. This was about like $70, $870, $900. So, oh yeah, I forgot the condenser. $900 plus condenser is like $200. We're looking at like $1,100–$1,200 for the whole AC system, not including the sleeper, but hopefully it actually works good. I've been running this AC while we're driving, which has its perks and its quirks, I guess. If you hit a big bump and the truck was leaning, it's gonna drain water right here and fall right onto you. Other than that, it's been working great. Right now it's running on my generator as we're stopped, which is gonna do for the next how many ever hours it would sit here, probably like 16 hours. So I mean, if you do the math, what time is it right now? Right now it's 1:08. So our appointment is not till 11:30 tomorrow, so let's say we go check in at 10:30. 1:08 till 10:30. What kind of math is that? That's a lot of math to do. 1 till 1 is 12, and then 1 till 10 is 9, 21. Let's just call it 20 hours for sake of simplicity. 20 hours. If I was idling this truck, we'd be using $3 a gallon, which fuel is even more right now. I think it's like $3.40 here in Illinois, $3.50, which is absurd. $3.50 a gallon for 21 hours. We're talking about, shoot, that's like $70 of fuel for 1 day of sitting here. And with the generator, it's going to use 2 gallons. so that is like $7. So you're talking about $7 versus $70. So I mean, this may not be an APU and might not look the greatest, but it works. But yeah, without further ado, I've been blabbering for a while. Let's show you the outside where everything is and get to it. So here's our situation. This is the J block I was showing you earlier. As you can see, this current one, it has for sleeper. I'm just gonna unscrew this. If it doesn't work unscrewing, I'm just gonna cut it off. I don't care. As I've cut this off, as you can tell, I'm gonna cut this one off as well, and then that goes to the air dryer. We're gonna replace that air dryer. Hopefully these lines will come off. Actually, it doesn't matter because we're replacing the air dryer and the lines, so I can just cut everything off. But yeah, then we're gonna guide new line through here as this is. And as you can see, this was chewed up pretty bad right here. But yeah, I'm gonna try to protect the new lines the same way. Yeah, and then goes to the condenser right here. So yeah, it's quite a bit of work. But I think first I'm gonna replace this whole thing, J block and the interior pieces, and then we're gonna get to outside. So yeah, let's get to it. So as you see, we got a mess. Here's the old J block. I just ended up cutting a bunch of stuff off. It was just easier to take it out. It's so gunked up. I think on the inside here, this is plumber's putty to keep the condensation to a minimal. And here's our new one. As you can tell, there was some kind of gasket here to close that up so no water can go in around this. I think what I'm gonna do is, since this didn't come with one, this piece I believe goes in like this, because I think the high pressure is this way. I'm gonna have to double check that on the way the hoses are on the inside there. But yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is throw some Right Stuff gasket maker, just do a bead around here, and then that should seal it up nice. But yeah, as you can tell, I had to cut this hose off. I couldn't get it off, but this one I cut off, and I'm just gonna, I don't know, throw something on here in case, you know, I ever do sell the truck and somebody does want to bring that rear AC back to life. They can do that and only replace one line, I guess, instead of two. But yeah, let's we're gonna do this and then do the evaporator, connect the lines, and then get to the air dryer right here. So yeah, let's stay at it. All right, so I know a lot of people are gonna comment this might be wrong, this might be right, or whatever, but this is how I'm doing it. Doing some oil on these O-rings, just because you don't want them to twist and break when you throw them on. This is by the expansion valve. So expansion valve is going to come like this, and actually these are bigger than the threads on this side, so you don't get it wrong. This one goes right here, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some thread sealant on here as well. I'm not sure if it's necessary. It might make it more messy than it should be, but I don't think it's ever a bad thing necessarily to throw some thread sealant on. As you know, if that gasket does fail, then that thread sealant should help stop that freon from leaking out. As long as you don't get that thread sealant onto the O-ring itself, you should be fine, because you do want that O-ring clean. And this is a liquid thread sealant. I think, you know, you can use whatever thread sealant is available to you. I can't find my tape thread sealant that I usually use, so we're just gonna roll with the liquid one, because I think any thread sealant is better than no thread sealant. So then you're just gonna throw these on here, screw in one of them a little bit, and then we're gonna align and start screwing in the other one. If it would start going. Hold on, let me try this. It's got to be straight. You definitely don't want to cross thread it. It just won't hook. Maybe I should do this one first. Let's unscrew this. Let's see if this one will go in first. I don't know why I'm struggling so bad. This one up here goes in just fine, but this lower one won't. Alright, so as you can see, we got this screwed on. This is our evaporator, our expansion valve, some thread locker, not thread locker, whatever you call this, thread sealant on here. Hopefully this works right, and then our gaskets, and then now we're gonna slide this thing in here. Well, first we're gonna try to get this bolt out, so let's do that first. So as I was saying, we don't have a gasket for this, so this right stuff hopefully still works. We're gonna have to clean her out. You have something to poke this out with? So here's our old air dryer. So your low pressure, I guess the thin one is called the low pressure lines, and then you have your two sensors, which this one's new. I replaced this maybe like 2 months ago, and this one I have this somewhere in the truck to replace. So we're gonna remove this and put it on our new air dryer, and then I'm gonna try to find my other sensor and also put some thread locker. Well, that gasket seems to be gone, or whatever that is. Never mind, there's no gasket on there. It's just to press the valve, but that gasket is toast, which might explain why it was leaking. But yeah, let's grab our new air dryer and get to that. So whenever you get your new air dryer, when you start removing these hoses lines, which is these, don't be alarmed when you start hearing hissing, because they do come pressurized. And then I don't know if I should put thread locker on this, just because I don't want it to fall in the gasket. So I think that I'm just gonna throw some oil, as I did, so it doesn't get messed up, and throw this on here. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I think the issue is whenever you run dry on there, that they just break because they twist, and yeah, that doesn't do much good for it. But yeah, I didn't know. Melissa pointed this out. It does point in right here, so does the new one. So they will point like this if you're not sure which one goes where. And then we have our second, which in this case I should try to find my tape thread sealant, but I think this should be fine. Just throw some oil on here and then throw a new one on. And then on the outside, it's just a clamp holding it. And then we're gonna install this. But as I said, if I go to remove this, you're gonna hear hissing, which it might pop off. You can hear the hissing, but I'm just gonna keep this cap on until I install it and I'm ready to put the lines. So yeah, we're gonna do this and get back to you. So it kind of look different, so I'm a little worried, but I don't know. I mean, hopefully they do the same job. This AC condenser is definitely a lot thicker than this. This is tiny compared to that. So I'm kind of worried. But I mean, I think they should both do the same job. That's kind of weird how this doesn't have any of the lines. Just these ridges, but this is what I would have, and that's what we're gonna work with. Yeah, it's a mess out here. We're gonna mount this up. Get to it. Alright, I also finally finished up. I left these two hoses for last because what I want to do is I want to put plumber's putty behind this so it seals nicely, and all around this. And then I want to tighten these hoses onto the expansion valve before I put them on, just because I feel like it'll be easier to do that and tighten it with this evaporator outside, and then I'm gonna put it on. So basically that's the plan. Once we do all that, put the panel on that. But other than that, I finished everything else outside here. It took a lot longer than I thought, but we got it done. So here's our J block bay cab. So you can see I just disconnected these, left them as is, and then line goes up here, new line to the air dryer, and then high pressure goes directly to the AC compressor. As you can see, I managed to do everything so it's not rubbing, but it's kind of difficult, as you can tell. And then they obviously go right here, and then go right down here onto the evaporator, condenser. The weird thing is this condenser is a lot smaller than the other one, so it's kind of odd to me, but I guess that's just how these newer ones are. Hopefully it cools just as good. I got that at Freightliner. And then yeah, a couple issues. Need to reseal my valve cover, it's leaking. And then got a hole right here that I need to replace this hose to put the pedometer gauge right there. But yeah, and then up here, as you can see, new hoses, new air dryer, one new sensor, and the other one is just removed from the other place. But yeah, it's definitely quite a bit of work, definitely a lot more than it seemed like, but hopefully once we do replace this, shut this, pull a vacuum, and put Freon in the system, we should have some cool AC. That's the plan. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and catch you on the next one.